First off, again, guys, hope you all doing well and hope you had a wonderful weekend. We've got some important things to discuss during this stream. And during this stream, we're basically going to be having a main focus on the Bitcoin ETF. What are the implications? If we're going to be getting approved, where are we likely to go next? If we're going to be getting declined, right, which is definitely a possibility as well, where I'm looking to buy. Some other interesting developments regarding the Ethereum Bitcoin pair trade. Funding reset, the total tree charts. It's going to be packed with good stuff. So yeah, let's get to it. So the first things first, right? If I were to summarize last week into a single fucking tweet, it would have been this one from our beloved Jacqueline Melanik, right? I heard from quote unquote sources, quote unquote, extremely close to the matter, that the Bitcoin spot ETF is going to be approved by the SEC for multiple firms' applications. No shit, Jacqueline, right? But apparently this was huge news for everybody. And then for the remainder of the fucking week, I had to see multiple tweets about, I heard from sources, we're going to be getting approved tomorrow. Everybody on YouTube was posting, EDF is going to be approved today. Like, I mean, come on, guys, right? Nobody knows when the EDF is going to be approved. So, expecting something tomorrow. Yeah, sure, Jacqueline. That worked out well, right? So we basically had, the camp was divided in, one camp was basically, if you take a look at Reuters here, we had people familiar with the filing process said issuers that met their end of the year filing revision deadlines may be able to launch by January 10. All right, well, everybody knows that, right? The date by which the SEC is required to either approve or reject the ARC21 shares ETF. So this is, the January 10 going into this week is going to be the date, right? They need to be approved by that date. So that's very important. Now, the SEC may notify issuers as soon as Tuesday or Wednesday that they have been cleared to launch the following week, said those sources, who spoke on the background given the confidential nature of the discussions. All right? That's one part of the camp. The other part was, I believe it's from Fox Business, where, journalists are basically saying, right, they likely won't hear back from them until the decision deadline on January 10 because they are swamped with, paperwork, right? If we take a look at this, the SEC staff has been off since Friday. So a Tuesday or even a Wednesday approval seems tight, but we shall see. So basically, nobody knew anything and everybody was expecting it to happen and nothing really happened, right? Which is typical crypto, isn't it? Now, why is there so much fuss around this? Why is this so important? Like, why is everybody speculating on, what's going to be happening with DDF? Why are there two camps? One is saying that we're not going to be approved. One is going to be saying that we're definitely going to be approved. Well, it matters because in the short term, people are speculating that this will unlock trillions of dollars in institutional money. For example, if I were to name something, right? We have BlackRock. It has 9 trillion in assets. We've got Fidelity, 4.5 trillion. We've got, what's the name? Invesco, 1.5 trillion. VanEck, 77 billion, if I remember correctly, right? So there's a shit ton of money coming into the market. However, I personally think, and it's very well explained by Macroscope, if you don't following, make sure you do, that sure, the implication short term for a EDF approval, I'm just talking about an approval right here. If we're getting a denial, right? If we're getting a rejection, we're going to be going towards 30K. That's it, right? If we're going to be getting rejected here, that's going to be causing a huge drop lower on Bitcoin. I think we can all agree on that. However, the speculation on whether or not we're going to be getting approved is that short term, sure, we have higher volatility after the ETF approval. I can agree with that for sure. Relatively calm after that as price finds a new level or range. This is, just trading 101 basic. However, the most important thing here is number 3 and 4. I personally think that once the ETF starts to, if it gets approved, we're not going to be getting 10 billion in inflows on that same day, right? I think that it's going to be increasing gradually over time. I ate Chinese. Oh my God, it's killing me. So I think it's going to be increasing gradually over time. And then the longer term effect will be that at some point in the future, large spikes will occur when desks easily grab it during macro, next inflation wave, currency, or geopolitical situations. And this is really when the importance of the ETF on ramp will really become obvious. I think this is a really good point, right? And this is mainly why it's going to be important. It's not going to be, sure, we're getting a spike up, but that's mainly due to the speculation of people, they're buying into the news event. That will probably propel us towards 55K per Bitcoin. However, longer term, right? Point number 4 is going to be very important. Now, again, in the long term, people are hoping, and I'm going to be emphasizing the part hoping, that it will have the same success as a gold ETF. Now, if I pull up a chart from the gold ETF, I think you can all agree that we've seen this chart, right? This is where we had the gold spot ETF, and then we went on for an 8-year bull market. Yeah, well, I think this is basically comparing apples with pears, right? Because the macro conditions were definitely different then. And, while I think that this could definitely be the case, I think it is foolish to compare this chart and that current regime with what we currently have with Bitcoin, right? So while this would be amazing, sure, I would take this. I don't really think that it is, that you're being true to yourself if you're expecting something like this. Now, the other part that's going to be important is if we go towards this chart, we've got Ethereum Bitcoin. Now, why do I have Ethereum Bitcoin here? Well, we had 4 consecutive green months on Bitcoin. And one of the things that Bitcoin tends to do is it starts nuking in January. So when it has 4 months green, it has a bearish January. Combined that with that is that Ethereum has started its major rallies in January for the past, 2 times. The past 2 main rallies started in January. We have contextual support here in the form from a trend line, right? Really awesome technical analysis from me at this point. Trend line, support, right? We're trading right at the trend line. Now, if you keep that in mind, we also have a fundamental approach for Ethereum, right? They have a huge update on their network coming into the first quarter. And then we also have the Ethereum ETF potentially coming up, right? Because if they approve the Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum is going to be next. And at that point, I think once the Bitcoin ETF is approved, the focus will start to go towards Ethereum. And at that point, we will see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin, right? Which takes me towards the Bitcoin monthly returns. Now, we can clearly see that if we take a look at the right side, we have October. Got a lot of percentages here, right? This is basically why they call it October, right? Because it's just a huge month for Bitcoin. However, conversely, if we take a look at January, not so much, right? It had a time where each January was basically red. Now we've got 2 green, 1 red, 2 green so far. So what I'm expecting, and of course, this is going to be depending on the EDF approval. Are we going to be getting it? Yes or no? However, I think if we're getting an approval, we're going to be getting 2 green months here, January, February, and then on March, we're probably going to be getting a red month here, right? Now, of course, if we're going to be getting a rejection, it's going to be a red month nonetheless. But I think we could be setting up for a positive January, February, and then on March, we're going to be seeing a drop. And hopefully, we're going to be getting a large drop towards maybe the 30K region or something along those lines. Now, this brings me to Arthur Hayes, and I'm not going to be saying that he's right every time because there was a shit ton of times where he isn't. However, I think this essay, where he explains why the crypto market is in a no trade zone at this point and why he will be taking a massive short on Bitcoin going into early March this year, is definitely a good one. I can definitely recommend reading this. Now, I'm not going to be opening this, reading it throughout because it's like 20 minutes or whatever, right? But I think go to each page, open up the link and start reading it. It's packed with good stuff. If we take a look at funding, right? We had, for those who remember last week, and I'm pretty sure everybody remembers it, we had a large liquidation event. If we take a look at the liquidations, it was on January 3, where people are saying that it's because of the Matrix report. But in all honesty, if you're plotting that time where the report actually came out and the time that the market started going lower, it started to go lower before the report even came out. You know, if I recall that correctly. So I think, you know, the thing about bull markets on Bitcoin and when we're starting to go upwards and everyone is making money, everyone is getting horny for those returns. Everybody is just longing the absolute shit out of these altcoins. And, you know, we're seeing that clearly in funding, right? We're seeing a huge amount, a really high funding here across the board. Everybody is making money. Everybody is calling their mom and their dad, thinking they're fucking geniuses. But, you know, everyone is making money. So you're not the best trader. It is just how it is. And oftentimes when we have this and we combine that with the fact that Bitcoin, where was Bitcoin trading last week? Where? Let me just open up this chart. The 2021 VWAP, right? We covered this. Resistance until proven otherwise. Boom. We slammed back lower, right? And combine that with the fact that we had high funding, it was just bound to happen. So we had a large liquidation event resulting in the biggest, I think it was the largest liquidation event on altcoins in the past 2 years or something along those lines. But, you know, it's just typical crypto. The good part though, funding has normalized now across the board. If you take a look at large caps, looking good, mid caps looking okay, small caps looking okay as well, right? So this is good in terms of altcoins. Now, if we take a look at the total tree chart, last week we covered this range. Range high, range low, consolidation. We then auctioned through that range. We formed a new range. And then we said, well, you know, I am bullish on altcoins. Do not get me wrong. However, I do believe that we need to see a pullback. It needs to cool down before we can finally see the next leg higher, right? And we drew out this beautiful box here, the red box, and then we have one here as well. Now, I'm not going to be saying that this is exactly what's going to be playing out. However, price is fractal, right? And it often rhymes. So going to this chart, we have the range. Upwards, weekly bullish OB, right? Down close candle before we broke above the highs. Support until proven otherwise. So shorting altcoins here isn't really the way to go, right? I think we're still due for upside. I do think that if we're, you know, if I'd say how this is going to resolve, I would say the best case will probably be something along these lines, right? Until the bullish case here, all right? Let's say that the ETF gets approved. I think we're likely due for another spike lower on altcoins because all the liquidity on altcoins is going to go back towards Bitcoin, which will add sell pressure towards altcoins. Once Bitcoin had its final leg upwards, it starts to form a range, right? At that time, people will start chasing money, which means money will rotate back from Bitcoin towards the higher beta altcoins. At that point, we might see the next leg up on the total tree, right? So this is something that I'm more aware of. What I do not want to see for bullish continuation on altcoins is acceptance back within this range. If we're getting acceptance back within the range, I think only then we're heading for a much deeper correction. And at that point, I think it will line up with a 30% of Bitcoin, right? Now, talking of Bitcoin, this is where we start to get into what I'm expecting or where I want to be buying Bitcoin. This right here is a really high time frame chart. It's a weekly time frame chart, and we have the 50, 100, and the 200 exponential moving average. If I tell you that whenever Bitcoin trades at the 200-week exponential moving average and it hits the 35 level on the RSI, you'd be outperforming a significant amount of people, right? If we take a look at this, Bitcoin auctions towards the 200-week moving exponential moving average, right? It dips below the 35 level on RSI. What does it do, right? Great buying opportunity here. Same story here, right? Trades through the 200 exponential moving average below the 35 RSI, right? Buying opportunity right here at this range. Boom. Same story here. Boom. The only time where it didn't really work out was right here with that you know, fucking FTX scandal where everything went to absolute dog shit. But then again, right? If you were buying it here under the 35 level, you would still be pretty close, around 18K for a potential reversal. Now, what I want to point out here is not only the buying opportunities, what I think is important here to also visualize or outline for that matter is that when we start tagging the 80 level on our side on the weekly time frame, right? It is usually accompanied by a big drop. Let me just close up the magnet mode. Right here. What did we do? 40%. I think that was I'm not sure what this was. I can't recall. Anyways, right. 30, 80. What did we do? 35, 80. What did we do? 38, right? Again, 80. What did we do? 40. So I'm not going to be saying that right here, right? 80. Am I going to be saying that we're going to be getting that 30 to 35 drop? Not yet, right? But it is something to be aware of, that we're trading this high up in the RSI. And, we haven't seen a real proper correction in a while. So, of course, this all depends on the ETF news. However, keep in mind that it is bound to happen. It is not like it's, for me personally, it is hard to think that we're going to go for another 4 months uptrend without any reversal. Sure, it can definitely be the case, right? However, I'm prepared that, oh my God, my Chinese is coming up. Note to self, don't eat Chinese before you start streaming. Jesus. So what I want you to see here is that if history were to repeat itself, right? We're trading at a, 75 right now, but, we spiked at the 80 level on RSI. If we were to revisit that, right? That same reversal, and we're getting a 30% correction, that will put the market at 31K, 31.6. So I'd say everything here within this region, and we might not get it, right? However, I do know that if we're getting this and Bitcoin trades at this exponential moving average and it tags the 50% threshold on RSI, I'll be a buyer for longer term. I think that's what you want to be seeing for continuation higher. So let's say that we're getting something like this, right? Everybody gets really bearish. What does the RSI do? Gets back towards neutral territory. So similar to what I did right here, right? Trades above the 50, finds support the 50, and then continues to rally upwards. If we're getting this, I think it will be an amazing buying opportunity for eventual higher prices and potentially even the all-time high, right? Now, this brings me to another chart, and maybe someone in the chat can help me out. I'm not sure who's the author of this. However, I got it sent to me, and I think it is a really interesting chart. I don't know if it's readable on stream right now, but you can clearly see that right here from the start of the bull market towards the end is 152 bars. This bear market lasted for 52 bars. And then we have another bull market, 152 bars. Another bear market, 52 bars, right? And that will give us a lot more room to go. However, I'm not neglecting this part, right? We can still be setting up for an eventual drive lower, taking out these lows, and then continuation higher. However, given the fact that how cyclical Bitcoin is and how it tends to trade, I think this is a really interesting chart, right? We have a lot of room to go by. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty, right? We've covered everything. We've covered, what the ETF and it's all about, but where are we going to be trading? Now, if I were to simplify this with a single chart, I'd say we're still trading within, why did I call this 2021? I'm retarded. 2021. All right. So we're still trading within the yearly value area from this year, right? From the previous distribution from that bull run. Really significant. We can see the significance here once we broke lower. Let me just remove this real quick. We broke lower, retested as resistance, right? Support, resistance. We saw Hundy roll above these highs, and then eventually we start breaking lower. So approval of the ETF. Where are we heading? I think 55K. I think there is a swing high here that will not cap price. There's not a swing point here. There's a fair value gap there. So I think if we're getting an approval, we're going to go towards this upper half of the 2021 value. If we're getting a rejection, I think we're due for a 30% retracement. And that 30% retracement will provide a buying opportunity at the value area high from previous year, roughly 31K, and the value area high from 2 years ago. These two now overlap with each other, which makes it an even bigger area to look for longs, right? So simple. EDF approval, 55K. Denial, or not denial, right? Reject it, or how would you call it, right? We're basically going to the shitter, in my opinion. Everybody together, right? Now that's longer term. Short term, we want to know where we are as well. That brings me back towards this 4-window chart. On the yearly, we know that we're trading above previous year value area high. So we're basically bullish. However, we do not need to forget that the 2021 VWAP is a higher time frame bearish line in the sand at 45.2K. I think this is very important, right? If we're getting one final spike upwards and we start to reject, this might be a shorting opportunity. Like, I'll be honest here. If there wasn't an ETF news event around the corner, I'd be looking for shorts at 45.2. Now, why would I be looking for shorts there? Because it is the 2021 VWAP. It lines up with this high, lines up with the weekly developing value area high, lines up with the monthly developing value area high. So this is definitely a big area of resistance, right? But I'll be remaining patient here with my trades. I think, betting on, or at least betting big here is definitely kind of risky. So if we take all of this information and we put it on this chart, we've got right here the 2021 VWAP, and let me just outline this. We've got the 2021 VWAP at 45.2. We have a previous range high at 45K. We've got H4 up close candle before the market broke lower, right at this contextual level. And then we have this short-term range. We have range high, range low. We saw a wick earlier today respecting the previous month value area high and the quarterly cluster. So this is support. I think if Bitcoin is going to go for the highs, it should be from this candle, especially after this wick, right? Earlier today, there was a large long that got wiped out. And now we're getting that, expansion higher again. Trading wise, we have equal lows, a bunch of equal lows here. And, large support cluster here. The trades that I'm currently looking at, and I'll continue to repeat this for you guys, I'll be very, very fucking picky with my trades here. I do not have any limits laid out. I have my alert set, and I'm going to be waiting for my triggers. And even then, I'm going to be going in with reduced size. Because if this, let's say, this is my first trade setup, right? This is mainly what I want to be trading. A short setup. If there wasn't a ETF news announcement around the corner, I'd say I'm going to be looking for shorts here because we've got fresh resistance at a key contextual level. This is our bearish line in the sand on the higher time frames, right? If we get this and then it can show me the willingness to go lower again, that means accepting back within this previous range. I'll be taking a short with my validation above the high, and I'm going to be targeting the pending liquidity below this low into quarterly support and potentially even much lower, right? Let's say that we spike the highs, get back within the range, and right here, the news comes out, EDF has been delayed. Boom. At that point, I think we're going to go much lower. Maybe even previous quarterly VWAP in one go, but who knows? But that's the news, right? From a price action perspective, I'd say this is a solid shorting opportunity. Conversely, if we get this, where, let's clean up this chart. What's up, Stevenson? Hope you're doing well, buddy. I'm not sure why it's not deleting. But conversely, right? Let's just fuck this. If we're getting this weird action where we're slow grinding above the 2021 VWAP, right? Let's say that we're getting this, a slow grind higher, and we're starting to accept above this block. I'll take a long here with my validation below this low. Because if we're bearish, this should hold us resistance. If not, this becomes a level of mitigation. Because everybody that shorted this and had their stop above this high, once we start trading above, they will want to get out, break even. And at that point, I think this will add buy pressure for the eventual push higher, right? So we'll have to see. I do not have a clear bias going into this week. And the reason because I don't have a clear bias is because of the EDF news that's laying around the corner. I think, if you see people saying that talking in absolutes right now, that's kind of foolish to do. when there's something around the corner, right? However, let's talk about things from a price action perspective. I'd be looking for shorts above range high with a confirmation back within the range. And for longs, right? I don't know, guys. I'm not really comfortable looking for longs up here unless, you know, maybe we sweep this range into previous quarterly value high and then get back within the range. However, you know, take a look at all of these lows here and take a look at where we're trading regarding VWAP. Now, I can definitely see this going higher. However, I'm not really comfortable taking it right here because of all the inefficiencies here and the amount of resistance that is overhead, all right? So that's basically my point of view on Bitcoin right now. We're either shorting this H4 supply, or I'm going to be looking for longs at the previous quarterly value high. That would look like something like this, where, you know, let's spike the range low, get back within the range, and at that point, I can target higher prices. So yeah, that basically concludes today's stream. I mean, do we have anything of interest left? Yes, we do. If you don't follow Bread and Butter on Twitter, make sure you do. They have awesome stuff. They have beautiful outlays with things that are happening this week. So the upcoming we've got FAT release network, upgrade governance proposal, the Bake, Bitcoin Cash, Genesis NFT. Of course, on Wednesday, we have the Bitcoin ARC 21 share spot Bitcoin ETF final deadline. So it's, you know, it's bound to happen on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I don't know. What do you guys think? My gut feeling says probably Tuesday, but we'll see. And then on Thursday, the party doesn't end. We've got US CPI numbers as well. And then some other things. Important on Friday, we've got APT 2.4 or 2.5% of the total supply unlocked. So that's going to be an important date as well. Now, everything else, right, you can check them out on Twitter. So yeah, that basically concludes for me today. Let's do a quick Q&A. Is there any particular questions for you guys that, you know, regarding what we've covered today in terms of trading, uncertainties, or whatever? The VWAP indicator is my personal indicator, man. You can't really, it's not public. It's for the guys in my group alone. Apologies for that. And, you know, if you're not comfortable taking trading with me in my group, you can also use the referral link that is posted below this stream. And if you trade on that link, you'll get access to the VWAP indicator as well. How much money is in the largest BlackRock ETF? You know, I wouldn't know, man. Why don't we look at the previous quarterly level? Why do we look at the old quarterly? Well, why? Well, let me just show you why. This previous quarterly level is important for sure. That's why I've outlined it on this chart. That's why I'm looking for longs there, right? This is the previous quarterly value high. That's this level. I'm looking for longs there. The reason why I'm also outlining the 21 quarterly values from, you know, 21. I'm not sure why this is 22 again, probably because I'm retarded. 22. What the fucking 20? 22. 21. Is because if we take a look at this range, support, resistance, support, resistance, support. This has been the most important range throughout this consolidation, right? The most important reference points. And the only reason why we're not rejecting here and sending lower is because people are still speculating on an ETF approval. And that speculation adds short-term buying interest because people think it will do well. No, I'm not using a different setting for my VWAP than the default high-low close tree trading view indicator. Mine is just an aggregation between different exchanges. It is not only on Coinbase. That's why my values are different than other indicators that you see. Any news on an additional ref link? Yeah, so the only additional ref link that I can offer you guys is Apex, which is, you know, the DEX from Bybit. And you can trade on that as well. However, that's up to you. And if you want that, you can definitely shoot me a message on Twitter. But anything else is kind of banned in my country as well. Plus, I'm sponsored by Bybit, so I'm keeping it with them. There's no way that you can buy the indicator alone. No, I'm sorry. But what you can do is just sign up on the referral link, buddy. So, does that answer your question, by the way, Topical, regarding the quarterly levels? Do let me know. I had a cup of tea and it's all cold now. All right, awesome. I'm from the Netherlands, man. Can't you tell by my accent? Like, I'm pretty shitty with my accent. But yeah, I'm from the Netherlands. All right, guys. If that's it, I'm going to be closing this off. I'm going to be spending some time with my missus. If you enjoy the content... oh, wait. Let me just cover this question first. I think it was more asking, why did you choose that level? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. That's a great point, Grant. So I would argue that for sure, this is the most recent quarterly level. It is significant to me for sure. However, in the meantime, we're trading up here, which means that I can be trading this level, right? And that's why I said, if in any event, pre-ETF announcement, we sweep this low and we find buying support here at the previous quarterly value area high. Keep in mind, this previous quarterly value area high at 41,870 is this quarterly value area high, right? Exactly this level. So if we get that, I'm looking for longs, sure. However, I do want to point out, from a structural standpoint, it's kind of looking iffy here with all of these lows here. This awkwardly grind upwards, right? Usually what it tends to do is spike and then nuke lower. But now that we're getting the ETF, speculation, everything, everyone is speculating on the ETF, hoping for, an approval, which we can definitely get. And at that point, I think we're going to go much higher. Yeah, this is that awkward grind upwards. I can definitely agree. Let me just find that real quick. If we go towards, it reminds me of, especially the sentiment reminds me of, where was it? 20, I think it was, yeah, I think it was here. This consolidation here. This was pre-all-time high break, right? We had this consolidation, and then we had this really tight range here before we eventually shot upwards. I think if we're getting an ETF approval, it's probably going to be looking like this, something along these lines, where we had a really tight range here, and then all of a sudden we break away. So, it's just for me from a risk to reward standpoint, with everything that's going on. Let me just go back towards where we currently are. Like, really tight consolidation here. Do you see that? If we're getting the approval, it's going to be one big candle upwards. However, from a risk to reward standpoint, for me, I'd say it's tricky here. If we're going to be bullish, this low needs to hold. We go towards an hourly chart. We took out a bunch of lows. We try to accept below the 21 quarterly value area high, and we try to break below the previous month value area high. I'd say if we're going to go upwards from this point, let me just get rid of this. If we're going to go upwards, right, I'd say retest it, slow grind upwards, right? And this is basically where every shorter gets rinsed. They see a swing failure pattern, they short it, it goes upwards, they get rinsed. Swing failure pattern, they short it, they get rinsed, right? This is why you're getting this awkwardly grind upwards. So yeah. All right. For those of you who are still watching, smash that like button for me. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this new format where we go over everything. I'm looking forward towards the next stream. I'm going to be spending some time with my missus on the couch. Quality time, guys. Thank you all for attending the stream. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.